and welcome back to Opal&Mint. I am Ashley. Welcome to another episode of Watercolor Blooms. This is a series on the channel where we paint watercolor florals every single week. We keep them quick, simple, beginner friendly, and today's is going to be the most simple flowers that we have ever done, and also the most relaxing and fun. So I'm excited for this one. Yeah, let's go ahead, turn the camera around, and start painting some watercolor florals.
All right, so for this episode of Watercolor Blooms, I'm going to be recreating a painting that I did in the rain. I did an Instagram reel on this about a year ago. I've done a couple of them actually, but we're going to recreate that painting. So for this painting, I'm going to be using a mop brush or quill. This is the Tintoretto size 8. You don't necessarily need this specific brush, just any kind of big fluffy mop brush will do. When I painted this before, all I had was this Master's Touch. This is a size 6. And this worked beautifully and perfectly fine. So any kind of big fluffier brush will do. I'm going to use the Tintoretto because I have it and I love it. As usual, we're going to be using the Etcher Lab sketchbook. I'm going to do a full page spread on this one, and I taped down the edges. For the paint today, I'm going to be using the Kusakabe granulating paints. I was going to use the Mission, but I decided I wanted to use these because I wanted to use this purple color. Originally, I was thinking about mixing in some of the Sunrise Blossom in it as well. I ended up just using the purple one, and then for the greens, I used the Castle Green color. So I also used a little bit of the yellow towards the end. All right, so I've taped down all of the edges. We're going to use this entire spread. So for the original painting, I let it out into the rain and let the rain drop on it. So to simulate that, we're just going to take a brush with some water and kind of splash it all over it to have some random water droplets all over the page. So we're not going to be placing them specifically. This is going to help with the random composition where we don't have to think about where the flowers are actually going. And you can kind of see where it is all over the page. Okay, so these water drops are going to be the start of our flowers. We're going to start by taking the purple color. I'm going to get a little bit on the palette, kind of work it into the brush. And all we're going to do is we're going to tap that purple on the water drops. So all the water droplets that are on the page, we're just going to put some color onto them. If you accidentally spill some like I did, if you drop some paint, that's fine. That just adds more to the water dropping. So just tap your brush on those all over the page. These will be the beginning of our flowers. I hope my words are making sense. I've tried to voice this over 3 times, and I was also talking. The audio today is just not working. So I thought I had audio during the filming of this, and it didn't happen. So please forgive me. Okay, so these are where our flowers are going to be. We're going to start with one of the drops, and this is going to be our first flower. So all we're going to do is that spot is the center of the flower. We're going to take our brush with the point towards the drop, and we're going to wiggle the brush outward and make a petal around. So all we're going to do is go around that spot and do really loose petals. And this is where the mop brush really works its magic, because it's just big and floppy, and you basically are plopping this down. Keep the petals loose and not perfectly shaped. The point of this painting is not to be perfect. Very, very loose. So we're going to do that with all of the water drops. Go around them and just wiggle that brush. Make sure you're leaving a little bit of white space between the petals and then also in the center of the flower, so it isn't just a blob on the page. They're mostly blobs, but a little bit of white space. And some of the flowers have them full bloomed facing you, and then some of them we're going to do side facing flowers, which, like this one right here, I ended up doing a side facing flower. So just do a couple of petals. You can kind of see this one from the behind, and later we'll add a stem and some leaves so you can really see the direction of that flower. But just go around painting petals around the centers. This is really fun and relaxing when you're doing this in the rain. I don't keep the paper in the rain the whole time. I let it rain on it and then get undercover. But just sitting there listening to the water and painting this is the most relaxing state I've ever had with painting flowers. And you can do this with any color. You don't have to use purple or pink. Any color flowers you want to do is totally fine. But just cover your page with these beautiful loose flowers. You also don't have to use a granulating paint, but granulating paints really shine with this technique because this brush holds a lot of water and they separate more in more water. But if you want this kind of effect without having granulating paints, just use a couple of different colors and kind of go back and forth between the colors, so you can have kind of that two-tone in the flowers. This color in particular separates so beautifully. In the original painting I did, I painted with Daniel Smith paints, and I used the Rose of Ultramarine. It's a very similar type of color to this, a little bit more pink, but I just really enjoy these granulating paints when I'm doing this technique. So I was looking at the overall composition. I was really liking the way it's flowing. And again, I'm not having to think too much about composition because we're just using the random water drops. But where there is empty space, we're going to be filling in with leaves. So I do a couple that are just little buds. So we've got flowers facing sideways, facing us, and then also little buds. And once you have all of those droplets turned into flowers, we're going to deepen the center of these flowers just to further define what these are. Instead of just blobs on a paper, we're going to take that same purple and get a little bit more concentrated pigment and just tap it in the center of these flowers to give them a little bit of depth. So I go around and just tap in. It works best if these flowers are still wet, so make sure you're working quickly. Don't stress too much about it, but just work quickly. And I'm also putting some of the base of the buds and then also the base of the flowers that are facing to the side. But it just adds a little bit extra depth and again makes it look a little bit more like a flower. If some of your petals have dried, it's not the end of the world. Some of these on this right side are dry and you can see the line, they don't blend as softly, but totally fine. This painting is meant to be the opposite of detail and perfection. So once you've deepened the center of all those flowers, it's time to go in with some green. So again, I took the castle green, and the flowers that are facing sideways, I'm putting a little bit of a stem, and then we're just going to put leaves everywhere, coming from the sides, coming out from the flowers, just kind of filling in that space. You could switch to a different brush here and use a thinner brush so you can get thinner lines for those stems, but I wanted to keep with the same brush, just the quick, simple, carefree of this floppy mop brush. So again, just place those leaves in all the white empty space, some of them coming onto the page from the side, some of them coming out of the flowers. Just kind of fill in the space. I also made sure I wasn't trying too hard to make them perfect leaf shapes. I want them in the general shape of a leaf, but I don't want them to be too perfect because then they wouldn't go with the rest of the painting. That's another reason I wanted to stick with the same brush. If I changed my brush my leaves might not have the same quality as the petals, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So these leaves are framing our flowers, again, making these blobs look even more like flowers. And once we have all the space filled in and it looks nice and everything flows, we're going to do one more step to these flowers to really make those blobs pop. So we're gonna take a yellow. I think the yellow that I used is called Gold Citren, again from the Kusakabe. I think that this brand you can buy the individual paints. You don't have to get the entire set, because there's several colors I don't like from the set, but there's a few like this one that I really enjoy. But anyways, I used Gold Citren, and all I'm doing is taking that yellow and I'm just tapping it in the center of those flowers. Again, helping you to identify where those are a little bit easier. If your petals are still wet, yes, that yellow is going to blend into the flower. If it's blending too far, you can just kind of push it back with your brush, it's okay. But it kind of flows in with the rest of the looseness of this painting. So I don't really mind that the yellow is spreading. But if you don't want your yellow to spread, just let your flowers dry first and tap it on top. But that's really all it is. These are super simple, and I hope that you paint along with me, or you paint along, or if it's raining, go outside, put your paper in the water. Yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed this. This is one of my favorite things to do with watercolors. All right, and the best part is taking the tape off. So let's go ahead and pull this tape up. I love seeing those beautiful crisp edges. This is the Holbein soft tape, by the way. I've said it several times because I've done this audio and I keep forgetting what I've said and what I haven't, so I'm so sorry. But that wraps it up for this Watercolor Blooms episode. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that it was relaxing. All right, guys, if you did enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you want to see our future videos, hit that subscribe button down below. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. I hope this worked this time.
And they are mowing the lawn outside. I don't have time to wait for them to stop mowing, so I'm going to continue and hope it doesn't disrupt the audio too much. Where we stop mowing the lawn. I am Ashley, and